Hello, and thank you for joining me on the Famous Matches of Magic channel for our first episode titled The Blunderous Frenchman. Magic has a long and robust history of competitive play with many interesting stories, and this channel will be sharing those stories with you. This story is taking place in the year 2005 and is about one of the most poorly played finals matches of a Pro Tour champion, Pierre Canali, who is a 22-year-old rookie Frenchman who is playing against Shuhei Nakamura, who will one day be in the Hall of Fame. Some consider Shuhei one of the best players of all time, but at this time is not well known. Pierre Canali is playing an Affinity deck, much similar to the one people play today in the modern format. However, none of the cards people actually play have Affinity mechanic in the modern deck, but this is where the deck today gets the name Affinity. This deck, being piloted by Pierre Canali, relies on playing lots of cheap artifacts such as Aether Vial, Chromatic Sphere, Arcbound Worker, and artifact lands like Seat of the Synod to reduce the cost of the cards with the Affinity mechanic like Frogmite or Myr Enforcer. Also, the deck has a lot of overpowered cards like Disciple of the Vault and Arcbound Ravager that when combined can kill your opponent out of nowhere. All of these cards would lead to one of the largest standard bannings ever at the time. The deck was dominating the standard format at the time of this Pro Tour. However, this Pro Tour is extended, and most people did not believe this deck was quite good enough for extended. For those of you new to Magic, the extended format no longer exists, but this was a format similar to what Modern is to current players. It was a larger form of standard, but did not have a lot of what very early sets such as Arabian Nights or Antiquities to be allowed. Only 4 people were brave enough to sleeve up Affinity for this tournament, and all 4 of which finished in the top 50 out of 285 in the Pro Tour. Early in Magic, people hated being hated out or locked out or mana screwed, which is part of the reason so few people played Affinity. For example, there were cards like Pulverize, Energy Flux, and Null Rod that would just destroy an all artifact deck, and this stopped people from playing Affinity. But as we will see over the course of these episodes, people have gotten a lot better at choosing their decks over the years. Shuhei, on the other hand, was playing a deck called Red Deck Wins. This was one of the most common extended decks at the time, which had mostly 1 mana cost red creatures like Jackal-Pup and Grim Lavamancers, and burn spells like Seal of Fire, Firebolt, and Magma Jet. The goal was to clear out any creatures your opponent has to get in with your cheap creatures. It also had some mana disruption with Pillage and Wasteland. Before we begin, let's get to the tail of the tape. Shuhei Nakamura would be an extremely accomplished Magic player, but had yet to win a Pro Tour. He would become Player of the Year in 2008. He would be inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2011. He would have 7 Grand Prix wins, most of anyone tied with Kai Buddha. He would have 28 Grand Prix top 8s. He would become Japanese National Champion in 2009. He would have 5 Pro Tour top 8s, and he would become 5th place at Worlds in 2005. But can he take down this champion? Can he take down the blunderous Frenchman, Pierre Canali? And for his competition, we have Pierre Canali. He is a 22-year-old from France. He is a salsa instructor, also known as the Blunderous Frenchman. It is a classic David versus Goliath matchup. Can the Affinity player pull off this massive upset, or will Shuhei Nakamura reign as champion of Pro Tour Columbus? Let's head down to the match. So here we are in the first match, and Pierre Canali has an amazing start with a turn 1 Aether Vial, turn 2 Arcbound Ravager Frogmite versus just a turn 1 Jackal-Pup from Shuhei, and this just shows you the difference in power level of these two decks. I mean, Pierre Canali has these overpowered artifacts creatures, and Shuhei just has a turn 1 2/1 with downside. And I apologize for this low video quality from what they had in 2004, but I'll do my best to show you some higher quality images. But I mean, these decks are just not well matched against each other. Shuhei gets in with that Jackal-Pup and just, lays another one down and passes back to Pierre Canali, and Pierre Canali lays down a Somber Hoverguard, gets in with his Ravager and his Frogmite, passes it back to Shuhei, who untaps, plays another land, firebolts that Somber Hoverguard, who's going to get in with his 2 Jackal-Pups. Pierre Canali is going to animate his Inkmoth Nexus there. He's going to block the 2 Jackal-Pups, so the Jackal-Pups are going to deal damage to Shuhei, and he's not only that, he's going to eat something, so the Ravager is going to deal damage to him, kill his Jackal-Pups, live another day, and eat an artifact to get bigger, and he's just going to untap, and Shuhei Magma Jets to make him sack some other artifacts. But man, just what a beating. I mean, just look at this Affinity deck, just look how dominating. Alright, now we're on to game 2, and let's discuss the sideboard strategies of the players. Pierre Canali has the sideboard card Chill, which is a blue enchantment for 2 mana that makes all red spells cost 2 more. This might not sound that potent, but making red spells cost 2 more is huge for a low cost red deck that has everything costing 1, making it cost 3. This makes a deck that relies on playing 2 or 3 spells a turn, only being able to cast 1 spell a turn, huge. So let's see how effective that is. Shuhei, on the other hand, will be bringing in Ensnaring Bridges in hopes of not allowing Pierre Canali to be able to attack with anything once he empties his hand out. However, Pierre Canali will be able to kill him if he is able to assemble the Disciple of the Vault and Arcbound Ravager combo. However, Shuhei does have the ability to kill Disciple of the Vault with all of his burn spells, but if he's able to get a Arcbound Ravager in play first and then play a Disciple of the Vault, he can sacrifice all of the creatures in response to him killing the Disciple of the Vault and being able to kill Shuhei out of nowhere. But this is a complicated play, so let's see if the Blunderous Frenchman would be able to pull this off if he is able to get an Ensnaring Bridge out. Let's head on to game 2. Alright, Shuhei's on the play here with a turn 1 Grim Lavamancer, but Pierre Canali has the best turn 1 possible play with an Aether Vial. Shuhei gets in for 1 point of damage with his Grim Lavamancer, follows up with a Wooded Foothills, and then passes the turn. Pierre Canali adds a counter to his Aether Vial, then plays a Cranial Plating, and passes the turn back to Shuhei. Shuhei, end of turn, will just Magma Jet his face for 2 points of damage in the scrying and plays a Wasteland and decides not to Wasteland Pierre Canali. Pierre Canali will add a second counter to his Aether Vial. He did not have a 1-drop to Vial into play, so he just casts another Cranial Plating. Now Pierre Canali is going to make an interesting play here. He taps his Aether Vial for 2 counters and puts a Meddling Mage into play. Now Pierre Canali here will make a terrible mistake and name Blistering Firecat off of his Meddling Mage. Now Blistering Firecat, you can morph it even if he names that off of his Meddling Mage, so it's just terrible. Now he names it because he didn't use his Wasteland, and the only forecasting cost card in his deck is Blistering Firecat, but Shuhei even boarded out Blistering Firecat because it's the worst card in his deck. Now the announcers rip him a new face for naming this, and this is just a terrible name. Now this is probably the least relevant mistake that Pierre Canali will name in this match. Now will this cost him the match? We will see, but this is definitely not the most impactful mistake, but it's definitely a bad mistake. And let's get back to the match, but this is definitely a terrible name off of the Meddling Mage. That Meddling Mage was during his upkeep, so Shuhei now is going to tap 3 mana and pillage the Aether Vial, then Wasteland that Glimmer Void, taking on the resources, but he's still got the Meddling Mage and the 2 Cranial Platings, so that's still threatening Looks like 6 damage right now from that Meddling Mage alone. If it plays an artifact land, that would be 7 damage, you know. So, you know, looks like Pierre Canali's still doing fine. Yeah, that's Seed of the Synod. So he can equip both of those cranial platings, and that would be a lot of damage. So Frogmite, so that's yeah, looks like he can get in for a lot of damage. Thoughtcast, drawing some more lands. Looks like Pierre Canali is getting in for 2. He could have equipped the cranial platings. Not sure I agree with those plays, but that's fine. Getting in for 2 points. Let's see what Shuhei has here. Looks like he's going to wasteland that Seed of the Synod, trying to take him off of blue mana. See if Pierre Canali drew any more lands off of that Thoughtcast. Pierre Canali plays another Aether Vial. Now he's going to equip that Meddling Mage and get in for 7 points of damage. That is a lot of damage. That would bring Pierre Canali 17, Shuhei down to 9 damage. As Ensnaring Bridge, like we discussed in sideboarding. So he wants to get creatures in his graveyard, so he's just going to attack with his Grim Lavamancer. See how Pierre is going to react. And Pierre's at 15, Shuhei's at 9. And Pierre is just going to take this 1 point of damage. You know, he should just be blocking with his Mirror Enforcer. Pierre Canali's not exactly sure what to do, but he just decides to take the 1 point of damage. He could block with anything, but he takes it. And it's next turn, and Pierre took it last turn, so he's like, why not try again? And Pierre's just baffled, and this time he just smashes it with the Mirror Enforcer finally, and Shuhei just plays a Jackal-Pup. He's not drawing anything, but now Pierre Canali just drops the Disciple of the Vault. For those of you who aren't that familiar with Affinity, so Shuhei's only at 9. So Disciple of the Vault will deal 1 point of damage to Shuhei whenever an artifact enters the graveyard. Now Shuhei's playing a burn deck, and he can deal so many burn damage to the Disciple of the Vault at instant speed. So he can just kill that Disciple of the Vault instantly. So how Pierre Canali is going to have to win is to be able to get a Ravager in play, which can be very big first, then play the Disciple, so that when the Disciple enters the battlefield, if he tries to kill the Disciple, he can then sacrifice artifacts, trigger the Disciple all the times for each artifact in play, and kill him instant speed. But if he plays the Disciple first and then the Ravager, he can kill the Disciple before the Ravager enters the battlefield, and then he will not be able to win. So all he has to do is play the Ravager first and then the Disciple, and he wins the $30,000. But if he does it the other way around, he won't win. So let's see what he does. Okay, so he just lays the Disciple, and he's just counting artifacts. There's no Ravager in play. Everyone is just looking around what's going on. We've been waiting for a Disciple for turn after turn after turn. Shuhei hasn't been drawing many burn spells. He's just been drawing Jackal-Pups and Grim Lavamancers, nothing in the graveyard, and Shuhei just kills that Disciple of the Vault. No Ravager entering the battlefield from those Aether Vials or anything. One Disciple down. Alright, let's go on to the next turn. Okay, Pierre Canali draws another Disciple of the Vault. Okay, let's see what's going down now. He uses his Grim Lavamancer to kill that Disciple of the Vault. There's only 3 more in the deck. Alright, looks like 2 more of the Disciples of the Vault in the deck. Only 2 more that can possibly win the game. Oh, Ravager down now. So if he had just played that first, he would have won the game, but instead he played it in the reverse order. Okay, well, he's still got 2 Disciples of the Vault left in the deck, so I guess it's not. Well, he drew one of his other Disciples of the Vault, so I guess he still wins the game. Good job, Pierre Canali. 1 more win. Can you pull it out? on to game 3, and as a reminder, this is best 3 of 5, and Shuhei is on the play again, and he has a Seal of Fire turn 1, followed by another Seal of Fire and a Cursed Scroll, and Pierre Canali did not have the turn 1 Aether Vial, just a turn 1 Chromatic Sphere, followed by a turn 2 Chill. Looks like he kept this hand due to the power of a turn 2 Chill, making all of the red spells cost 2 more, and we will get to see the power of that. Sideboard card. This will make the Jackal cost 3 mana, and we will just see how the power difference is in these two decks. I mean, Shuhei is playing a 2/1 creature with downside, and Pierre Canali gets to play free creatures that are 2/2s, and Shuhei has to play these junky creatures with downsides for 1 mana. Now, let's see, why would Pierre Canali keep this hand? You know, he hasn't really had any of his all-star creatures. We haven't seen any Ravagers or anything. What can Pierre Canali come up with? Looks like he has an Arcbound Worker this turn, and now he has a turn 3 Aether Vial. Alright, he is killing that worker with a Firebolt and getting in with his Jackal Pup. Looks like he has played another Arcbound Worker off of that Aether Vial and a Glimmer Void. He is tapping that Glimmer Void for a Cranial Plating maybe, or do we have an Arcbound Ravager? What can he come up with? Ah, it looks like a Thoughtcast. In response to the Thoughtcast, he is going to kill the worker. Now he would do that in response to keep him off of Affinity, in case he drew, you know, a Frogmite, a Mirror Enforcer. It stops his artifact count to making other things cheaper. That is why he would do it in response. Looks like he has another Thoughtcast, so, you know, maybe this is going to be too slow of a draw for him. He has 2 Jackal Pups and some more Seals of Fire versus just the Disciple of the Vault. So if there was a game for Shuhei to win, this would definitely be it. I mean, look at all those creatures. He should definitely be able to pull this one out versus just 2 Disciples of the Vault at end of turn off of a Aether Vial. He adds a second counter to it. Now the Chill has forced Shuhei to tap out, but looks like Pierre Canali has 5 mana and 2 Disciples of the Vault and an Aether Vial on 2 counters. Now Pierre Canali is coming, looks deep into the tank. Now anyone who has played Affinity back in the day, if you see 2 Disciples of the Vault in play and a lot of artifacts, you know that is a scary place to be in. You know, you can always be ravaged out with 2 Disciples of the Vault in play. So let's see what can Pierre Canali come up with here. Shuhei is killing one of the Disciples of the Vault, and Pierre Canali is, looks like he has 2 Ravagers. So I'm going to pause it here for a second. So right here out of nowhere, you're going to see the power of Affinity. Shuhei Nakamura is dead on board with the 2 Disciples of the Vault and the 2 Arcbound Ravagers. If Pierre Canali just sacrifices all of the artifacts to 1 Ravager, that sacrifices the second Ravager to the first Ravager, and then puts them all on the Blinkmoth Nexus and attacks with the Blinkmoth Nexus, it's the exact amount of damage to kill Shuhei Nakamura. Shuhei is completely tapped out. There's a Chill in play. There's no free spells. So he's completely dead on board if he just takes his time to count it up here. But this is the Pro Tour, and he could just win the Pro Tour right now, $30,000, and he just decides not to win, and the announcers just barrage Pierre Canali for this. I mean, man, I feel bad for Pierre Canali with just how bad. It's offensive. I'm surprised these guys are able to do coverage after this.
Like, this is my Japanese accent. He is so bad. I cannot believe I'm losing to him. I can't believe it! You could have killed me! I don't even know where I am anymore. Am I still at a Pro Tour? I feel so bad for Nakamura. I honestly, like, I've never felt so bad for a Magic player. You just got punked. This ain't the Pro Tour. You did not make day 2.
Man, the announcers are just brutal on him. It is a complicated play for sure, and he is dead. There's definitely no way he could lose there, but it is the exact amount, and you just don't want to throw it away. He's got a dominating position, so it's under the lights, and for sure he should have done it, but man, those announcers are brutal on him, and the pain from the announcers just keeps coming. There's more to come.
As long as these Ravagers eat themselves and move on to the Mirror Enforcers, that should do it.
Yeah, he's gonna, if he does it correctly. But then again, you never go over that. I wouldn't be surprised if he said, stack my Mirror Enforcer to my Ravager, stack my Mirror Enforcer to my Ravager.
Come on, the guy's actually played reasonably well all weekend. He's missed a couple of subtle, tricky plays. I'll grant you that. But the kid's in his first Pro Tour ever. He's got an amazing deck list with a lot of innovations that nobody else came up with. Yeah. And he's playing it well enough.
And he has an amazing singing voice. What's your point?
This match goes on way longer than it had to, and Pierre Canali could have just been swinging with everything and won this Pro Tour, but he did not. It was good to see Randy Buehler sticking up a little bit for Pierre Canali, but that should have come a lot sooner. They were bashing him throughout the entire match, and Shuhei definitely was the superior player, but his deck choice was not even nearly as good as Pierre Canali's, and Pierre Canali definitely deserved to win this Pro Tour. Don't want to take anything away from him. Affinity was by far the best deck for this tournament, and he is the Pro Tour Columbus champion. And I would like to thank you for tuning in, and this is the first episode in this series, Famous Matches of Magic, and I'll be looking at some of the famous Pro Tour matches and giving a backstory, as there are so many great stories in the history of Magic the Gathering. And if you like this first episode, please make sure to leave some comments and give me some feedback so I can know if it's worth all this effort putting these episodes together. And thanks again for watching. Have a good day.
Congratulations, Pierre Canali, you are the Pro Tour champion.
My Japanese accent, he is so bad. I cannot believe I'm losing. I cannot believe it! You could have killed me!